folks. Let's get into your message for today. I've got the Tower in reverse as your central theme. I feel like you're recovering from something that was pretty catastrophic and fundamentally changed the way that you looked at your life. Maybe you fundamentally changed the way your life functioned. I see here with the Sun in reverse that you're deeply unhappy, but that doesn't mean that you're always going to be deeply unhappy. This is going to be a time of healing. I do want you to look forward to a day when you will be healed and when you'll get to feel happiness again. Nonetheless, this Tower in reverse moment, this catastrophic event, has had you looking at life from a much more emotionally mature angle than you would have come at normally. The Sun has a child, and the Fool has a young adult, if not a teenager, and this moment has pushed you far beyond those particular life stages, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I'm not talking about your physical age. Maybe you're a teenager watching this and you already feel old beyond your years. Totally understandable. You've been through something really, really rough. With that Tower in reverse, you've got some things coming in that you weren't expecting to see, that you feel defenseless against, and this thing has put a huge burden on your shoulders that you don't feel like you deserve. And I also feel like it wasn't meant for you, and yet the situation is being pushed onto your shoulders anyway. You don't deserve this. You may have done nothing to earn this even, like this would have been somebody else's consequences, but you're the one who's bearing the brunt of somebody else's choices, quite possibly. And yet, in spite of all of that, this is not an entirely sad message, although it is a difficult one. I do think that you deserve to hear the truth when Spirit lays it out for us to see. Because you're carrying around a burden that you weren't meant to carry, that was probably meant for somebody else's shoulders, you're maturing through this. And the Wheel of Fortune is blessing this. The wheel turns in your favor. It sees, the universe sees what happened here, and it chooses to bless that in spite of what's happened to you, in spite of the trauma that you've gone through. So I feel like whatever happened to you, it just sprang out of nowhere. I'm sensing a lot of tears. I've got tears all over the place because I also, in the Tower in reverse, there are a lot of golden drops. In this case, in another case, it would mean something different. In my particular reading, it's a whole lot of tears. Underneath the Tower in reverse, though, is the Ace of Cups. That's a new emotional opportunity that you weren't expecting to see. Your guard is down. You're just kind of tired with the universe and with people, with humanity and how it's behaved towards you. And in the middle of that comes a surprise of an offer from the universe. It may not be from a person, but it's a new opportunity that you can choose to look at with the mature eyes that you've grown accustomed to having. Life has not necessarily treated you well, and you've been forced to become more mature, maybe even compared to a lot of the people that you're around, your family, your friends, maybe romantic partners. You've been forced to become more mature, it feels like, than they have been forced to become themselves. With these consequences, this burden that does not feel like it should be yours, you're wondering if you're ever going to be happy again. It doesn't feel like there's going to ever be a circumstance in which you'll ever be happy again, because I see you walking away from something that you put a lot of time and energy into. All of those cups are upright. They're not spilled over like we see in the Five of Cups, where 3 are down on the ground, but there are 2 behind. You're leaving behind a bunch of cups. You've put in a lot of time into this situation. 8 is the number of justice, and I want you to know that justice is seeing this situation and will make things right in justice's own way. This is about time. It might take time for justice to act, because justice needs to gather power information, strength, if you will, before it actually acts. And when it does, it will rebalance the scales. But for the time being, I'm seeing you in a whole lot of pain. Try your very best not to take somebody else's consequences, a burden which has been pushed onto you. Try not to take that too much to heart. Recovery and rest is key, especially after a tower moment. We all need, whether it's positive or negative, I do believe that there's some positive ways that a tower moment can happen to us. But either way, you're being asked to slow down, to rest, to take out time for yourself. If you enjoy being out in nature, definitely get out in nature. If there are people with whom you feel like you have a good community with, spend some time with them. You don't need to trauma dump on them at all. If you can get in touch with a therapist, that would probably be best when it comes to dealing with this particular situation that has been forced upon you. And also with all the emotions that you would expect to have when you're going through a difficult moment like this. So nature. Being out in nature is going to be helpful. Going to people with whom you have a sense of belonging will be helpful too. You don't need to trauma dump on them. But if they ask what's going on, be brief and talk about what's going on, but don't go overboard. Don't vent on them. Things will right. Things will come up right. Even though you were forced to walk away from a situation, you will be greatly blessed because of it. You do have neat blessings on the way in spite of the pain, okay? Hang in there. You're going to be okay. I'll see you later.